The U.S. dollar lost value today. That has helped to support modest gains in wheat, corn, and soybean futures. Soybean meal was mixed and soybean oil was moderately lower. That drop in bean oil was despite gains in crude oil. Again, the cattle complex cannot ignore what's happening in beef trade, but lean hog futures decided to ignore the rally in cash hogs.
Live from Election Day via Farm Journal broadcast, this is AgriTalk. This afternoon, it's a conversation with Pro Farmer editor Brian Grete. Directly following the news, Matt Bennett from agmarket.net. I'm handsome newsman Davis Michelson. Now, say hello to the host of AgriTalk, Chip Flory.
All right, Davis. Hey, thank you so much. So, welcome to AgriTalk, everyone. Glad that you are joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. It is Election Day 2024, and Davis and I started the morning show with the Pledge of Allegiance, okay?
That's right.
And had to kick off Election Day with a bang there.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope that you've all made it to the voting booth. Get involved. Davis, I knew that I wanted to start the day with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I didn't really know why.
All
And
right.
then you said something later in the morning show that just brought like extreme crystal clarity to why I wanted to do that.
Really? Did you write
Yes.
it down?
When you talked about your daughters.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is so simple. We are all in this together, people.
Mm-hmm.
We all want a bright future for America, and today is the day. Today is the single event that we can all participate, and you can make a difference.
Yep.
So vote like it is your vote that is going to be the deciding vote.
Yep.
Get in there and vote.
In case you missed it this morning briefly, I have two daughters who each voted on either side of the aisle. And my message to them was, as long as you are voting your conscience and you know why you are voting the way that you are voting, just vote. Just vote.
Just vote.
Just vote.
That's exactly
Yep.
right.
Yep.
That's exactly right. Good stuff. You're a good dad, Davis.
I get lucky once in a while, dude. I don't know about good.
I did not vote as if my vote was the deciding. Can I
Big
do it
Apple
over?
Joe, everybody. Okay, now this ought to
I
be
gotta do
interesting.
over?
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Why?
No, I just voted, but I wasn't like, it wasn't like, okay, this is it. You
Yeah.
are the deciding vote.
Why?
I don't know.
I kind of did. I kind of had that feeling when I was in there.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? You know what? In the House district, you never know.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's a very tight race here, and my vote might have been the deciding vote. So
I'm going to go back to the polls and see if they can let me do it over.
do it
a
over
redo.
again.
Yeah, try again. Yeah.
Well, you know, you're just outside of Chicago. Vote early, vote often. Yeah. I get it. I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing. All right, man. Let's get to it.
Chip, Russian crop potential was back on traders' radar today. Production expected to be down from a year ago, potentially tightening wheat supplies from the Black Sea region. U.S. Census export data put all wheat shipments in September at 2.453 million metric tons. That was 33% ahead of September last year.
Yeah.
Crop condition updates from USDA put 41% of the winter wheat crop in good to excellent condition here at home. That's up 3 points from the previous week. Hard red winter wheat crop ratings increased slightly with a modest increase in soft red winter wheat ratings. December SOW wheat futures posted a second consecutive inside trading day with prices stuck between $5.60 and $5.80. December HRW wheat futures 5 3/4 higher at $5.76 3/4. December soft red wheat up 3 3/4 cents to $5.72 1/2. December spring wheat gained a nickel and 1/2 to $6.10 1/2. Chip.
Sharply steady is the trend in the wheat market right now.
USDA this morning announced the sale of 124,000 metric tons of U.S. corn for delivery to unknown destinations in the current marketing year. Demand helped corn futures post a third consecutive higher close, with December corn posting an inside trading day with a low range open and a mid-range close. U.S. corn harvest 91% complete as of November 3. That's 16 points ahead of the 5-year average pace. Gains in corn futures were limited by improved growing conditions in Brazil and Argentina. December corn futures today, 2 cents higher, 4.18 1/2. March corn up 2 cents, 4.32. July corn futures closed at 4.43 1/2. That's up a penny and a quarter, Chip.
We'll talk to Brian Grete here in a bit on whether or not that corn demand can move the needle on the supply and demand reports coming up at the end of the week.
January soybean futures also posted an inside trading day with a low range open and a mid-range close. Crude oil futures were higher again today, but soybean oil futures traded lower for a second consecutive session. The low range close in bean oil is pointing to a test of support around the 44-cent level. Soybean meal futures were slightly mixed. Forecasters see mostly favorable growing conditions in the biggest production areas of Brazil and Argentina over the next 2 weeks. January beans were 4 1/2 cents higher today, 10.01 3/4 cents. March beans up 3 cents, 10.14 3/4. July beans closed at 10.43 1/4. That's up 1 3/4 cents. The January contract pops up over 10, Chip.
Yeah. December crude oil today up 63 cents a barrel. December bean oil down 57 points, moving in opposite directions. Weird.
December cotton today was 2 points higher at 69.65. Your livestock closes quickly. December live cattle 30 cents lower, 184.77 1/2. Jan feeders 7 1/2 cents lower at 242.35. And on your hogs, December lean hogs $2.10 lower, 81.12 1/2. Chip.
All right. Thank you very much, Davis. Let's bring in Matt Bennett, agmarket.net. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
Good. Happy get out and vote day.
Yeah. I got that done first thing this morning and tried to beat the line.
Attaboy. Get that sticker and get it early in the day. So, markets feel, I said it on wheat, sharply steady, kind of putting the brakes on volatility right now, aren't they?
Yeah, it just seems like we're kind of waiting around. I mean, I think, of course, we're waiting around on the election a little bit. I want to see November WASD. Usually isn't too exciting of a report, but I think, there's been a pretty decent demand. Yeah, I know you said you're going to talk about that with Brian later. I think, our team feels like maybe USDA makes a little adjustment this month as far as demand goes. Big question is, are they going to adjust, production? I think it's possible. They're probably close to a number at this point, but yeah, I think that the people want to see what this report looks like. It just seems like there's not a lot out there to really push the market around, so to speak. So just not much news.
Yeah. I tell you what, the expectations on the corn yield are kind of like the polls on the presidential race. They really are. I mean, people are leaning in both directions on going into this report. Where are you leaning on corn yield?
We actually said unchanged on corn because to be honest, we were a little bit, some of us were up, some of us were down, not too far either way, but on beans, we went down 0.8. So I think we were one of the lower bean yields. We feel pretty strongly based upon all the evidence we've seen from our growers that bean yield ought to be down this month.
Yeah. Yep. It was just a rotten finish for that bean crop in too many spots. And
not enough rain.
Not enough rain, so our bean size is pulling things down. Matt, good stuff, man. Good to talk to you. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks.
Yep, later, guys.
All right, man. That is Matt Bennett, agmarket.net. Okay, coming up next, we are going to get into a conversation with Brian Grete, the editor of Pro Farmer. We've got the elections to cover, Federal Open Market Committee, supply and demand at the end of it. It's a busy week. We'll cover it with Brian next.
The truth is hard to come by these days, unless you listen to AgriTalk.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm Chip. Election Day.
Jump in there real quick. I thought maybe you were taking a nap or something.
No.
I was going to talk about the sixth lower close that December live cattle futures posted today.
Okay.
I didn't get to mention that in the news. This, despite heavyweight choice graded box beef values jumping $1.77 this morning on moderate movement.
Yep. Yeah.
6 consecutive lower closes. We've been watching this fat cattle market pretty closely, and I don't know. Maybe here we go.
Well, 6 consecutive lower closes. Maybe there it went.
We maybe went.
Yeah. I don't know. But the way that box beef market is trading, good grief! Not only was it higher, okay, but let's check it out real quick. 318.68, 318.68 on the choice heavyweight, or the heavyweight choice graded box. 318.68. We moved 70 loads this morning. The choice select spread is out to almost $32.
See, I feel like we can recover from here. Maybe we got one more run in us. Huh?
All right, let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. Brian Grete, editor, Pro Farmer. How you doing, Beej?
Great, Chip. Thanks.
All right, we looking at the right stuff on cattle?
Yeah, toppy action in the futures. We pulled back in the beef, but it's still strong. The cash market softened a little bit for the first time in 8 weeks. And so I think we put in short-term tops in here. We're due for a pullback, and I can't rule out another $1 to $3 lower in the futures. Probably, I don't see a whole lot more down than that, to be honest with you. And I think we're going to probably make another run when we move into the spring time frame next year. But we'll have to see. Demand has held up really well. The congratulations, U.S. consumer, because they are, in the face of slowed exports, the U.S. consumer is continuing to buy beef despite record or near record retail prices. And so that, I think, is the story, more so than anything else, is how long that domestic beef demand holds up.
Yeah, which is a function of the economy, which is a function of, the jobs market in particular, and the way that the jobs numbers stunk it up in October. And, you got to go back and look at some of the downside revisions in August and September too. It makes the fact that we are using the beef that we're producing just that much more impressive to me. It's been a source of amazement for me for a while, and it's no less amazing right now as it was 2 years ago. So, it's pretty impressive, no doubt about it. I don't know what it means for us, because the fundamentals of the market right now, if the fundamentals had control of the live cattle trade, Beej, we wouldn't be lower 6 days in a row, would we?
Oh, you get to a point. I think it's healthy. I'll be honest with you. I think this pullback is healthy. You can only go up for so long, and we just had an incredible run. I think I've talked in the past about the cash market was kind of on a 3 to 5 week cycle, and we saw 7 straight weeks of strength. And so it was overdue for a pullback there, and it dropped all of 23 cents last week. So we broke that 7-week string with a 23-cent decline. It's basically nothing. And so I think that I will always tell you that pauses, pullbacks, just corrective in nature type of trade is healthy for markets. It doesn't matter what market it is. When you get in troubles, when moves start to go parabolic and things like that, and then they get overdone, significantly overdone, and just you can't sustain them. And so letting the futures pull back, the fundamentals kind of consolidate, let's say, that is healthy in my opinion.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think you could call yourself a cattle bull even if you expect this market to set back $1 to $3.
Absolutely, that would be nothing more than nothing more than corrective in nature. So if we drop another $1 from here, we've only retraced 38% of the rally from the September low, and so that's nothing more than a correction in a bull market. If you go down another $1.50 from there, then it's about a 50% retracement, and so you really haven't done technical damage at that point in time. You put in a short-term top, sure, and you've pulled back from the highs. But all things considered, you're still, bulls still probably have the upper hand at that point in time.
Gotcha. Okay, the cash lean hog index higher for a 12th consecutive day, I believe it was.
And it'll be up for a 13th day tomorrow. So just that contra-seasonal strength continues. Pretty incredible, to be honest with you. But, we're starting to see in the futures action. So we saw hefty losses the past 2 days here, and we moved into that gap that had formed about a week ago or so on the daily chart, December chart. If we gap lower tomorrow, it leaves an island top formation on the chart, and then you're starting to see bigger cracks. And seasonally, let's keep in mind this. We should be under pressure right now. So to see us rally contra seasonally, both in the cash and the pork, and then the futures, and it's rather unusual. It's not that it hasn't happened in the past, but it's unusual to see it happen. And so I think that just seasonal pressure, if anything, the futures are telling us that, hey, reality check here in a little bit, and they kind of think that the strength, contra-seasonal strength in the cash market is running out of steam.
You interested in building a price floor in either cattle or hogs right now?
Yeah, so we did in hogs last week, and the cattle we haven't yet. We're still longer term bullish there. Because of the seasonality. So I mean, we should face pressure through the end of the year, at least in the hog market from a seasonal standpoint. A lot of the recent years that's carried into early the next year, and so we feel like wintertime coverage is definitely warranted in the hog market. But on the cattle side, I can't argue against it. I just think that there's probably limited downside unless some unknown event happens. If some bearish unknown event happens, then it's a different ballgame at that point in time, and you have to scramble to get hedge coverage in place.
Okay. What are you doing on feed for livestock guys?
So we're covered in cash. The meal market is a value buy at these levels, low $300. That has just been for quite some time. You have to go back to about 2007, 2008 to see where that was a kind of a ceiling level. It's been a floor level since that point in time. And you may say, well, what changed? Well, if you remember back to 2008, that was the 3-month strike at Argentine ports when they basically gave away their meal export business that they had completely dominated. And so that was the game changer at that point in time. And since then, that $300 mark has kind of been a price floor. So I think that cash coverage, extended cash coverage is warranted in the meal market.
Okay. Corn?
Corn just kind of just chops around. It'll move up a little bit, move down a little bit. So I don't think there's any necessarily urgency. We do have some shorter term cash coverage in place for corn, not as extended as what the meal is at the moment.
Okay. All right, very good. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to start that No, here's what I'll do. Because when we get you on here, we get a chance to talk about some cotton trade. So let's do that for the rest of this segment here. Talk about a tough market. What's your take on what's happening in cotton?
Well, it's kind of bleeding, but we're holding about in the mid range of that August low to the late September high, that zone at the moment, and the big concern is China and what happens there on a demand front and those types of things. So every time we rally a little bit, we find fresh sellers. Every time we drop, we seem to have a pullback of significance, but then you find some buyers underneath the market. Eventually that's going to change and we'll get a trending move. I don't know which direction it's going to go. USDA will keep updating its cotton production forecast as we move forward here. And so we'll see if anything comes about of that. If there's increase in abandoned acres, what USDA does with yield, what the relationship is between those two factors and that type of thing. But really, I think the cotton market comes down to demand. And
yes,
do we see China come back as an active buyer? And we just haven't seen that. I mean, the weekly export sales data has been poor for quite some time now. The export shipments have been poor, and we just don't see the type of demand that's needed to push prices above that 70-cent level. So we just kind of chop around that level.
Yeah. If the importers have been front-running the elections in corn, I would have thought there would have been a little front-running in cotton, but with China being the buyer that we pay most attention to, I don't think they were going to front run anything. They're just
no, and the only reason they're buying cotton is so that they can ship out product with the restrictions.
Right, exactly. All right, we're in the middle of a conversation with Brian Grete. We'll continue it next here on AgriTalk.
Let's go to the markets page at profarmer.com and check today's closes, where December HRW wheat futures were 5 3/4 higher at 5.76 3/4. December SRW wheat up 3 3/4 cents to 5.72 1/2. December corn futures 2 cents higher, 4.18 1/2. March corn up 2 cents to 4.32. January soybean futures 4 1/2 cents higher at 10.01 3/4 cents. March beans up 3 cents to 10.14 3/4. December cotton today 2 points higher, 69.65. On your livestock, December fat cattle were 30 cents lower at 184.77 1/2. January feeder futures 7.5 cents lower, 242.35. And December lean hog futures $2.10 lower, 81.12 1/2. Get more market news every market day. Visit tryprofarmer.com. Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. Do you suffer from talking on the radio phobia? No problem. Send us a tweet at #AgriTalk.
Welcome back. I'm Chip. It is Tuesday afternoon. We're in the middle of a conversation with Brian Grete, editor at Pro Farmer. Beej, it's election day. I'm not going to ask you who you're voting for. I'm curious, as the markets start to figure out who's going to win this presidential race, do you think there's going to be much of a reaction?
Going into it, there has been what's the so-called Trump trade and everything. And if you remember back to his presidency, it was pretty positive for the stock market. The dollar appreciated, and so those are some markets to watch, I think, as the results come in. Obviously, on the ag side of things, the trade front is pretty critical, and so how the international markets react, China in particular, probably will tell us as much as anything. And it's going to be a long night. Who knows what the outcome will be? It's a tight race from everything that all the experts say, and I'm far from an election expert and don't want to be. To be honest with you, but I mean, that and a weatherman, those are probably the two things that I don't aspire to be in life, right at the top of the list anyway.
Love it. Trade is going to be something, and trade, and not just trade, not just the numbers, but the policy. It's Trump's going to use, if he wins, Trump's going to use trade as a tool. Harris, I don't know if she's going to pay any attention to it or not. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it'll probably be status quo. So that will keep everything that's in place tariff-wise on China in particular. I think both have said that they plan to renegotiate the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, so the old NAFTA. Which is the North American trade pact with Mexico and Canada. So I think that both of those countries are bracing for that no matter who wins, so there is some uncertainty. Obviously, Canada and Mexico being neighbors, major trading partners for agriculture and other products for that matter. China being the world's #1 consumer of commodities, that matters obviously, and so I think that those are probably the big markets, obviously, that need to be watched from the trade front. But definitely, Trump, he says upwards of 60% of tariffs on Chinese goods is what he's threatened. So that would be a biggie.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. Biofuels, either candidate. Does it strike a chord with you on what it might mean for biofuels policies going forward?
Well, Trump drill baby drill. I think that mantra's been out there. He's used that one several times. So that one would favor the oil side of things, and Harris, she'd be stricter on the drilling, fracking, those types of things. Biofuels, UCO, used cooking oil coming in from China. I think that's probably one that could be definitely impacted, especially if Trump wins there. Neither one has said much on biodiesel or SAF that I'm aware of. And then EVs, obviously Harris would push for electric vehicles. That's a push that's been on with the current administration, which she's a part of, obviously. And then, but the interesting one on Trump is that Elon Musk is how does that come into play with the EVs with, Tesla and everything? So that one's an unknown. And if you didn't have Elon there, then you'd probably say Trump is going to reverse the EV stuff as much as he can and throw the brakes on it. But that one's an interesting dynamic to see how that plays out if Trump wins.
Yeah. Basically, as I understand it, he's saying, "Listen, I'm not going to mandate the conversion to EVs, but if you want to buy one, hey, that's completely up to you. Go ahead and buy one."
Yeah.
So yeah, the food prices have become, they were a hot topic. They kind of moved to the back burner, and here the past couple of days, they've moved back to the front burner. You've got Harris saying that she's going to go after corporate price gouging. I mean, is that something that in the meat markets we should look at and say, geez, watch out for what might happen here?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't quite get that one. I mean, she's targeted retailers, grocers basically and their margins are about 1% the last time I checked. So there isn't a whole lot of meat on that bone to go after. So that one's going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out and how that, her policy moves would come into play and impact. But yeah, I think meat obviously would be the one to watch there. And just, the whole pricing structure stuff that we've seen come through USDA and everything else with the current administration on the livestock side of things, livestock and poultry.
Is when it comes to this food price and the price gouging potential investigation or whatever. I mean, it's only meat, milk, and eggs. Brian, it's not like it's the staples or anything like that. It's just meat, milk, and eggs. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. All the stuff I eat.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Federal Open Market Committee meeting this week, Beach. I said it before, the jobs growth in October stunk. I know that there were some weather issues involved there, but they revised down the numbers from August and September. For the first time in quite a while, I'm kind of seeing justification for another quarter point down in the Fed funds rate. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a quarter point's locked in. I think that the jobs data probably cemented that one. Probably, the greater focus I think should be moving forward. I don't think that, it'll be a surprise if the Fed doesn't cut rates 25 basis points on Thursday. Moving forward, what are the plans and how aggressive will they be? How active do they feel like they need to be? Inflation is moderated basically almost to their target level of 2%. So the jobs then labor market becomes even greater focus because they have a dual mandate. Most people focus on, and we have been focused on inflation and getting that to that 2% target. But there's also, gainful employment, full employment, however you want to say it, is the other side of the mandate, the dual mandate that the Fed faces.
Yep. Okay. So lower interest rates. All right. The other big event that's coming up at the end of the week, and we've talked a little bit about the demand side of the balance sheets here, but we've got the crop production, supply and demand coming up on Friday. USDA in October put the national average corn yield at 183.8 bushels per acre. What's your lean here?
Down. The market isn't expecting much down, and in all honesty, the November reports, unless there's some sort of supply side surprise with the corn or soybean crop estimates, is usually relatively tame in terms of the USDA reports, and so the market is just expecting a little bit smaller crop, a little bit lower yield, and on the corn side of things, and the same is the case on the soybean crop for that matter. So it would be a surprise, I think, if to some if they go up, especially on soybeans. Corn, I guess there are a couple estimates within the Reuters polls and Bloomberg polls that do anticipate a increase in the corn yield. So we'll see, but I don't think there'll be a whole lot of change.
Okay. And hit me with your bean yield again. Let's see. The bean yield in October was 53.1. The trend has been choppy.
Yeah, 52.8 is 52.8 is the average estimate from Reuters. So down 0.3% or 0.3 of a bushel.
All right. Doesn't seem like that's enough on the supply side of things to move the needle much on carryover.
No, and so the carryover, they're about 50 million bushels down on corn. The corn export pace has been pretty stellar here, and so I think that you can move that up and pretty easily, and a little bit smaller crop size. That combination gives you ending stocks at, we'll call it 1.95 billion bushels is what the estimate is going into the report, just south of that a little bit. Soybean ending stocks 532 versus 550 last month, and so a decline there, and then wheat's kind of the left behind one because they don't have a production estimate anymore. That one was set at the end of September. The average estimate is 813 million bushels. That would be up 1 million bushels from last month. So basically a nothing report for the wheat market.
What is wheat's role in the grain markets right now?
Oh, good question. I mean, so the U.S. is kind of competitive on the global front, but the Black Sea continues to dominate. And I think that's the bigger issue. How much does the Black Sea countries, Russia in particular, restrict their exports during the second half of the year? And if they limit them to a fair amount, then the U.S. can probably get some of that business back. But if they don't and they continue to actively export, and all signs point to them trying to throw the brakes on anyway, that being the Russian government, then I think probably the U.S. can pick up some business the second half of the year.
All right. Excellent. Good stuff, Beach. Thank you so much. We will talk to you again tomorrow morning in the morning hour, okay?
Absolutely, and I encourage everybody to go out and vote tonight if you haven't already done so.
Attaboy. Brian Grete, editor, Pro Farmer. Davis and I will be right back to wrap up today's AgriTalk.
Knowledge is power. We're here to charge your batteries. AgriTalk. Here's my guarantee to you, listener. No kissing on AgriTalk. Ever. Ever. Don't let the song fool you. Welcome back to it, everybody. It is AgriTalk on your election day, November 5, the Tuesday of Tuesdays. Davis Michelson here along with Chip Flory. Chip, you and I, we're news guys. We're journalists. We can't escape this stuff. There have been so many polls and experts saying so many things. It's been really hard for me to kind of get a feel for what the average Joe is thinking this election season. Are you having that problem as well? It's just hard to cut through all of that noise. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean.
Well,
but I think part of the reason might be because the average Joes out there seem to be pretty evenly split, right?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I thought it might be helpful if we took a moment to check in with some of our listeners at a watering hole. Now, this is way out west. I'm not even going to say where this is, but this is the U.S. constituency here. Let's just see what they have to say. believe I'll have an AgriTalk. AgriTalk? Well, there you go, Chip. That's the feel from the man on the street.
Love it.
Not sure that gets us anywhere, although it does kind of get me to daylight savings time.
Okay.
It gets me to daylight savings time, which is something we didn't really discuss or talk about. I feel remiss because I was behind the big green leafy microphone on Friday last week.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything about it. But here's the thing. It's kind of a special daylight savings for me this year.
Oh.
Because I've been very prudently saving up my daylight. You know, I work inside. I'm in front of a computer for most of the day. I'm just wondering, and I'm sure you know this, where do I go to access my daylight savings account?
If you're banking it,
math,
how do you withdraw it?
Yes. By my math, I should have sunlight till 8 p.m. until about February 19th or so.
That ain't happening, baby.
If I can just get to it. I don't know my PIN. I don't know.
Sunset at like the middle of the month is like 4:39 in the afternoon here in Northeast Iowa. What in the world?
Who are you saving with this?
I don't know. But I like the direction that you're going.
If we can just figure out how to capture this somehow.
You know, it might be like Bitcoin. I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to work on that. I'll work on that for next time.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is nothing new either from Matt Bennett. I think he hit it right on the head. You know, everything, and he mentioned it in reference to the grains, just kind of waiting around for this election. Like everybody, like you say, you know, there's not a whole lot of undecidedness out of there. Let's just, you know, let's have the vote. Let's get this taken care of so we can all kind of shake loose and move on.
And let's get it counted, right?
Yes.
And let's do this in a civil way. Let's do this in a legal way. Let's do this above board, across the board. Let's do it above board.
Yeah.
You know, the last time that this all went down, I was tracking some of the progress out on the East Coast, Georgia in particular, back in 2020, and leading up to it, I'd made a couple of contacts that I wanted to keep up with, and we were texting on election. How are things looking in this county? How are things looking in that county? And I actually threw out at one time, oh my gosh, watch what's going on. I think it was Clayton County. Clayton County, Georgia. Watch out what's happening in Clayton County. It looks like they're going to shut down the counting for the night. This is not good. They shouldn't do that. Let's, you know, Godspeed to everybody and anybody that is part of the process.
Yes.
Thank you beyond words for doing what you are doing and being willing to do it.
Yep.
Thank you. Don't quit.
Yeah, I know.
Don't quit tonight. Let's get it done. There's got to be a way that this can get done tonight. Hopefully you've got the plan. Hopefully the plan has already been initiated, and hopefully we can get some final counts done tonight. The counts that matter. The counts that matter. Okay.
Yep.
But God bless you all that are
Oh man.
that are volunteering to make this happen today. Oh my gosh, thank you. Jeez.
Yep. We should probably talk a little bit about what you and Brian talked about, and I was thinking as you were asking him about feed early in the conversation, man, that was some pretty good meal and corn analysis just for those markets themselves.
Yeah.
On the basis of, you going to buy feed here?
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Something clicked in my head when you guys were
Perked
talking
right
about
up.
feed needs. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and whenever you get to these meal prices down here where we're at now, $299.50 in the D's, $300 and 60 cents in the Jan. 303.30. Like Brian said, we're down around value areas.
I wanted you to say that. Yes.
Yes, and corn in the low $4 range. You get into the cash market, and you're looking at something in the high $3 range. Those you can make the buys and understand what your costs are, so that you can manage the risk against it if you get those things bought up. National Weather Service 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day. They're both above normal temperatures and and above normal precipitation. So above temps, above precip. That gets us all the way. The 8 to 14 day gets us all the way out to November 19th already.
Wow!
What the heck?
Wow!
What the heck? It's unbelievable. All right,
savings.
You know what I'm going to say, everybody. Get out there and vote.
Yep.
Get out there and get your job done. Tomorrow morning, Jim Mintert and a Farmer Forum. Go vote, everybody. God bless you. God bless America.